Welcome back to ARC Salt Lake, where we cover authentic, relevant, and community stories. Helping those who served. Even though Veterans Day was on Monday, every day is a time to support veterans. Many service members serving our country now and in the past have or are dealing with differing emotions, both good and bad. And let's get to Mary and Lindsay right now, where we're going to delve into this.
We have Dr. Mark Burton here to discuss how we can help veterans dealing with physical or emotional problems today. Because they come home from war, they've seen a lot of stuff that the rest of us haven't, you know, and that's hard to deal with.
It is, and I think it's common for us to think of PTSD first and foremost, which is a serious disorder, but only about 20% of veterans who come back from deployment experience PTSD.
That's still a huge amount,
It's
5.
It's still a lot, but more common are issues in relationships. So if they come back and they have a family or they're married, then often there are serious marital relationships. There can be parenting issues. Then also substance abuse issues are pretty common. And then also just in the veteran population, the existence of anxiety and depression is higher, certainly, than in the general population.
But they're not usually very willing to seek out help.
Well, I think they aren't very willing to do that. And so I think a lot of it is men in general tend to have difficulty asking for help. And then you get that certain population that is in the military, and I think it makes it even more difficult. And these problems, though, I think really require some additional help. I don't know that for a lot of these that you can do it on your own. And so the big question is, how do you find help? Or how do you even access services?
Where do you even start?
Is it the VA?
And so the common one would be the VA, which years ago they were the ones who came up with the designation of PTSD. I think it was after the Vietnam War. And so a lot of veterans, though, that I've talked to don't necessarily like getting help at the VA. And it's for various reasons. And so the VA is the place to start, but you can also access help in the community with therapists who are independent. And again, that becomes very difficult because, one, most people want to use insurance because it can be quite expensive. And so in wading through all the people who can offer services, you want to eliminate those who aren't going to take your insurance first and foremost. So there's some sites that you can go to. The Utah Psychological Association is one of the better ones for local. Teresa Bruce is the executive director. They're very helpful. I think on their website they also have a directory. Now the problem is, though, reading through all the descriptions to find someone who has the experience you want. So for instance, especially with substance abuse and PTSD, I think that you want therapists who have been trained in specializing in that and who have experience that way. With the family relationship issues, then a lot of therapists are able to deal with those types of issues. And there's, that added component of being a veteran, but really it's about helping people with relationships and parenting. But so the substance abuse and PTSD, you want to find someone who's had that experience.
Can you search for that specifically on that site you said?
I think so. But I think if you don't, then I would call Teresa, and she'll help you figure that out. Now a national one is called Psychology Today, and they have a very extensive directory of therapists. But again, the problem with that is it can be overwhelming. If you even restrict it to Salt Lake City, you've probably got several hundred or more.
And who's
therapists
on your list for insurance and all that
and
work.
So you have to be able to go through that. That can be very overwhelming. When I look through there, for various reasons, it's overwhelming to me. So you might want to have someone help you to do that.
And can the VA help you find someone? I mean, how are their counseling services?
Oh, the VA, yes. So the VA, you can get counseling there. The answer is yes, and that's where a lot of veterans go, because I believe it's low cost or free. And so that, for any veteran, I think that ought to be your first stop.
Good start,
But again, for whatever reason, a lot of veterans do not like to access help at the VA. And so what I wanted to help people understand is there are other options within the community. But I think that often it takes loved ones to help push you in that direction, and because otherwise, I think, especially with the depression and the substance abuse, I think you tend to isolate, and you aren't going to go out and seek help, and you're going to need some interventions.
What do you say? How do you approach someone, urging them to get help?
That is a good question, and it's very difficult because you have to be kind and gentle, but it's all about behavior. I would focus more on the behavior. I think if you label things like, well, you're depressed, now, a lot of people are okay saying, knowing they're depressed, but still with the label, a lot of people don't like the label, and so I focus generally on the behavior. Here's what's not working in our marriage, or here's what's not working for you as a parent, and we should get some help with that. And so I think it's always more helpful.
They have to be the ones that make the choice, too.
Right.
That's right. You can't force anyone into to treatment. But again, you're going to need extra help, I think, for a lot of these issues. And
I think probably a lot of these veterans, they're like, I've been through so much, I pushed through all that hard stuff, I can push through this too.
Do this.
I think you're exactly right. I can handle this on my own. But the problem is they can't, really. I think that, at least 48% of veterans or people coming back from deployment experience those family issues. So there's a lot of divorce. The divorce rate is pretty high.
Slide back into the family situation after you've been gone for a year or longer.
And that's where the parenting issues typically come in, because if you have children, then the spouse at home has been a single parent for a year, and it's hard for the veteran to come back in and start being a parent again, but it's also equally hard for that person who was at home to give up that control. I mean, they've had total
to adjust.
Right, they've had total control. And so the people I've seen who and I have seen veterans who have come back in, they need some help in negotiating that. It's really hard to do on your own. And it doesn't, for that particular issue, it doesn't necessarily mean that there's long-term therapy. You just need help to re-entry. I call it re-entry. And a lot of pilots have the same thing. They're gone. A lot of jobs have that issue. And so re-entry into the family can be difficult. And sometimes it just takes a third party to say, here's what you can do.
Okay, well, we're asking you for questions. If you have any questions, advice from Dr. Burton now, if you have a veteran in your family or you have any questions about how to handle or help that person, send your question in. Scan that QR code right there. It'll take you right to it. You can also email arc@kutv.com, and we will keep it anonymous if you have a question.
Not going to be like, Sergeant Smith is having issues. We're not going to say anything like that. So
let us know.
Get your free advice.
And we'll be back next hour with Dr. Burton.